Completing the leadership and emotional intelligence assessments was a great way for me to discover which areas of leadership I am strongest in and which I can improve. Understanding the cycles of leadership and what stage I am currently in will help me navigate the steps ahead. Most of my emotional intelligence scores were close. However, I still had higher scoring areas and lower scoring areas. My highest scores were self management and relationship management. Self management consists of 5 competencies: self control, transparency, adaptability, achievement orientation, and initiative. Relationship management contains 7 competencies: visionary leadership, developing others, influence, change catalyst, conflict management, building bonds, and teamwork. After reviewing these results, I can see how they play a factor in my everyday role as a leader. My lowest scoring areas were social awareness and self awareness. Social awareness is comprised of 3 competencies: empathy, organizational awareness, and service orientation. After reviewing this description, I would guess that organizational awareness is where I could improve. As I am new in my supervisory role, I am only now discovering the inner workings of the organization. This description also contains the ability to navigate politics, which we will see was not a high scoring area for me either. My lowest score for all 4 areas was self-awareness. Self-awareness contains 3 competencies: emotional self-awareness, accurate self-assessment, and self-confidence. When pondering this result, I would have to say that I am most likely lacking in emotional self-awareness and self-confidence. When it comes to stress, I tend to only recognize it when it has already begun to manifest in other ways. For example, difficulty sleeping. Also, I know I struggle with self confidence and feel as though I can't be confident since I am in a new position. These are things that could really benefit me in my role and are worth improving upon. After completing the Bowman and Deal leadership assessment, I discovered that I portray most the human resource and structural leadership style. The human resource leader believes in people, is visible and accessible, and empowers others through participation and support. On the other hand, the structural leader focuses on developing new models and strategies, implementation, and continually experiments, evaluates, and adapts. These two seem very different, so it's ironic that I scored highest in both areas. However, once I was educated on the 2 styles, I can see how I have characteristics of each. I invest a lot in my team members and support them as much as I can so they can achieve their goals. I also like to analyze situations, get all the facts, and work towards implementing a plan or strategy for improving a situation. My lowest scoring areas were symbolic leadership and political leadership. The symbolic leaders are visionaries. They capture attention with symbols and discover and communicate vision. A political leader can establish what they want and how to get it, assess the distribution of power, build linkages with stakeholders, persuade, and negotiate. I can see how these 2 areas are not my strongest. I don't know that I have ever used symbols to emphasize the message I am delivering, and I tend to outline goals differently than a symbolic leader. A political leader seems to be someone who is confident and can describe what they want and knows they deserve to get it. Since self confidence is not my strong suit of mine, I would wager that this contributes to the reduced score in political leadership. Also, I think navigating relationships can take time and experience, which I have not had much of an opportunity to practice just yet. Next, we will talk about the different leadership cycles: crawl, walk, run. Crawl is the first step in the leadership cycle. In this phase, the leader manages a small group of individuals and focuses on self-awareness. Common themes through this stage include learning lessons, observing a role model, finding out the why for role models' actions and decisions, education, and self-improvement. The timeline for the crawl cycle is different for everyone, but can take an average of 5 to 10 years. Once the leader has transitioned from the crawl stage, they move into the walk cycle of leadership. The leader in the walk cycle manages larger groups and teams. This phase deals with more complex information and challenges and focuses on team building. The timeline for the walk cycle is an average of 7 to 15 years. The final leadership cycle is the run stage. The leader in the run stage has developed a complex skill set and is ready to lead hundreds of people and manage millions in resources. Skills included are conceptual thinking, managing change, and risk-taking. These individuals are ready to lead organizations and are therefore most often seen within senior management. The timeline for the run stage is 10 to 20 years, but could take a lifetime to achieve. My current stage is definitely the crawl stage of the leadership cycle. I lead a small number of individuals in a singular department. I still have so much to learn, and I am being mentored every day. I think this cycle is appropriate for my experience level, and I know it will take time before I transition into the walk cycle. The two areas for improvement I selected are self-awareness and political leadership. Since I identified self-confidence and emotional self-awareness as the two competencies I could improve, I have focused on those areas specifically regarding self-awareness. Improving these characteristics will help me identify my strengths in leadership, recognize my emotions such as stress, and portray more confidence to my team and others. Strengthening these areas will also help me transition from the crawl to walk cycle as I become more confident and knowledgeable in my specific skill set. Enhancing political leadership could go hand in hand with increasing self-confidence. Specifically, political leadership will enable me to negotiate the needs and wants of the department, build alliances, and provide clear, concise agendas. This will help me transition from the crawl to walk cycle by building and negotiating relationships with stakeholders. I've broken self-awareness into two parts, self-confidence and stress management. The first action plan describes improving self-confidence. In this area, I would like to focus on identifying and using my strengths in leadership. Determining what I am good at and using it to my advantage will help to increase confidence. To start, I will complete an in-depth self-assessment and have my mentor complete the same evaluation. Next, I will identify the areas I labeled as strengths and weaknesses compared to the areas my mentor identified. I will then discuss the results with close friends and family that know me well and get their feedback. Then, I will choose 2 to 3 areas to focus on. While my instinct is to pick 2 to 3 weaknesses to improve, the idea is to increase self-confidence. Therefore, I will focus on my strengths and how to utilize them to my advantage. Starting with one area at a time, I will find materials either through coursework or books I can purchase to help strengthen the skill. Once I have implemented the changes from the research I've done, I will take the self-assessment again and determine if it was successful by comparing the results to the initial assessment. If so, I will move on to the next focus area. Once I have seen an overall improvement in confidence, I believe it would be appropriate to focus on areas of improvement. The second part of increasing self-awareness is stress management. In this action plan, I will focus on identifying stressors, seeking recommendations for stress management, and implementing changes to reduce stress. First, I will need to identify the stressors. Since I must increase awareness, I will have to focus on the thoughts or concerns that are most present throughout the day. For example, worrying about school or certain goals or issues at work. Next, I will research stress management skills to reduce stress related to work and school. I will accomplish this by seeking the advice of other leaders and students, as well as purchasing a book on stress management. Next, I will choose 2 to 3 recommendations from the stress management book I purchased to implement. I will select one change at a time and determine its effectiveness by keeping a journal. I will set time aside to record patterns in things such as sleep and emotions. After a month, I will review the journal and seek the opinions of others to determine if the change was successful in reducing my stress levels. If so, I will move to the next change. Lastly, I wish to improve political leadership skills, specifically negotiating relations and building alliances. To achieve this, I will first need to become more educated on political leadership. To do this, I will purchase a book for the appropriate education. I will schedule a time to read and study this book, making notes along the way as I discover relevant information. Next, I will identify areas to work on by getting the opinion of my mentor and the needs of the organization or department. Once a joint decision has been made, I will choose 2 key areas to improve. I will then use the material I purchased to implement one method or skill. I will take time to maintain a journal in order to record interactions and progression of alliances. After a month, I will review the journal and discuss relations with my mentor to determine improvement. If successful, I will implement the second method and repeat the process. Now that I have identified my leadership style, emotional intelligence, and leadership cycle, I can work to improve them. Setting these plans into action will help me achieve this goal and develop into a better leader.